On the 14th of June at around 8:25 a.m, Billy was stood on the pavement waiting to cross back from the petrol station side through to the Winters Road side of the Portsmouth Road. She was waiting for a break in the traffic. It would appear there was no immediate break, and she could have been there for up to 8 minutes. The van driver was parked adjacent to the delivery boxes inside the forecourt of the petrol station and was attempting to make a delivery to those delivery boxes, so would have been in and around the back of his vehicle or at the delivery boxes as she walked past him coming from the shop area out towards the pavement. As we understand it, at some point on that fateful morning, there was a break in the traffic from Billy's right-hand side. This is where the lights at the Thorkill Road, Ferry Road junction on the Portsmouth Road were likely to have gone red, thus stopping the traffic from her right continuing along the Portsmouth Road. Unfortunately, it has a different effect on the traffic approaching from her left. This will concertina down slowly, so you get a long line of traffic all the way along the Portsmouth Road, still moving and preventing any safe form of pedestrian crossing. Billy would only have ever attempted any safe form of crossing if there had been a gap on both carriageways of the Portsmouth Road. We believe there was a clear gap, quite a long gap from her right, as the lights previously mentioned, but there must have been some form of gap in the other side of the traffic to enable her to start her transition across the carriageway. We believe that the van driver by now had loaded his boxes or unloaded his boxes back into his vehicle, had seen from his station position there were no vehicles approaching from his right, but had failed to see Billy stood there, likely because of a blind spot caused by the apex pillar on his vehicle. Begun his manoeuvre in what is likely a continuous movement, i.e. without stopping, began to move away from the stationary position, only looking toward his left. Moving forward, seeing what we believe was the same gap that Billy was attempting to cross in, but diminishing because there was another vehicle travelling along the road toward the lights, and accelerated out, failing to look back to his right in what had now become his direction of travel, and obviously failing to recognise that there was a pedestrian attempting to cross the road. The medical evidence suggests that the van hit Billy somewhere in and around the centre of the road on the white lines, with the front offside part of the van making contact with her body. We will never know if a pedestrian crossing had been installed, if the collision would likely still have occurred. The evidence suggests it is highly unlikely that it would have occurred. One, that Billy would have travelled to a nearer crossing point to go to the petrol station. The nearest safe crossing point was 140 metres or so from where she was intending to cross. So the likelihood is, if there had been a crossing in a sensible place, she would have walked a short distance to the crossing. The second point is, if a pedestrian crossing had been installed previously on this area of the Portsmouth Road, the delivery driver, who was routine at making those delivery drops to those boxes, who knew the area, knew the traffic flow at that time in the morning, knew how hard it was to exit from that petrol station, may not have chosen to go for a tight gap, diminishing gap, and rushed that manoeuvre, and maybe would have taken a little bit more time just to assess the situation, look both ways, look in the direction of travel, and likely will have seen the pedestrian, as was Billy, before he hit her. This section of the Portsmouth Road is, in this picture, seen with light traffic flow, but at that time in the morning the traffic flow is exceptional. Many hundreds of vehicles pass this road on an hourly basis in both ends of the day, in peak flow, morning and night. And many people live either side of this section of road, many of whom are elderly or vulnerable and have to cross this section of road to utilise the bus service and the other areas and conveniences, along with the petrol station forecourt, which is the major convenience type store in this area until you get further up to the smaller newsagents. So there is a significant amount of people trying to cross the Portsmouth Road at busy times during the day with significant traffic flow on there. Given the fatality now, as was Billy, along with the other incidents that have been recorded on this very spot of road, and the council already agreeing that it was a dangerous section of road, we feel the time is now that it must have a pedestrian crossing, a safe one, in the area where local residents most need this crossing.